Good day and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lawrence DeMetrius, your host. And in this video, we'll be looking at the Book of Enoch, an intimate review by part 3 by yours truly, Lawrence DeMetrius. It's just one of many intimate reviews that you can enjoy at my website, which is lawrencedemetrius.com. There's also a lot of great spiritual and uplifting music that you can enjoy. Again, that's lawrencedemetrius.com. I invite you to go and visit today. But right now, we're going to jump into this review. In chapter 1, or this review is notes for section 1, Enoch's journeys and vision and the fallen angels. In this portion covers chapters 1 through 36. Now, in chapter 1, Enoch discloses that Yahweh enabled him to envision what he saw in spirit. He was given foresight about the ultimate disposition of both righteous and wicked spirits. It was clear that the events revealed to him would occur in the last generation, at which time eternal rewards will be given to all spirits according to their innate nature and works. In chapters 1 through 5, Enoch describes the wicked as those who have turned away from Yahweh's word, are hard-hearted, and speak proud and hard words against his greatness. In so doing, they bring destruction upon themselves, execrate their own days, and make their own names an eternal execration before the righteous. Now, to execrate is to utterly detest, abhor, and abominate. It is to curse, call down evil upon, and damn. It is to denounce and utter curses. This is what the wicked do to themselves. And King Solomon touches on that at Proverbs 8, verses 35 to 36. And execration is the act of execrating, object execrated, thing held in abomination, and that which is a curse. This is what the wicked pronounce upon their own names. Name per the ancient Greek language is a noma. Not only is it that which one by which one is uniquely identified, but is figurative of their personal character and authority. Enoch also describes the wicked as fuel for all who curse and imprecate those given to sin. To curse is to swear at, blaspheme, afflict with great evil, and to excommunicate. This is what the wicked do and pronounce upon themselves and all who share their likeness. To imprecate is to invoke or call down evil or curses upon. A curse is the expression of a wish that misfortune, evil, and doom befall a person or group of person. A curse is a formula or charm that is intended to cause such misfortune to others. It is the act of reciting such a formula. It is a profane oath or a curse word. An oath is an evil that has been invoked upon someone. It is the cause of evil, misfortune, or trouble. And a curse is something that is a curse. This is what the wicked do and bring up on themselves and all who share their likeness. Per Jesus Christ, the only reason spirits inherit the eternal flame of Yahweh's wrath is because they had more pleasure in worshiping Lucifer than in worshiping him, Yahweh, for whom they were initially created. Enoch describes the wise as humble people who by their faith in righteous character have already inherited divine rest and peace. In chapter 6, Enoch describes mortals as children of earth and angels as children of heaven. Both have free will, both are intelligent, and both have the ability to do good and evil. Prior to the great flood, there were 200 children of heaven who chose to commit great violations for which they knew they would be punished. However, they did not realize how severe their punishment would be. Neither did they realize the degree of hurt their violations would cause the inhabitants of earth. In chapter 7, Enoch writes about the offspring of the 200 fallen angels and details the consequences suffered at their hand In chapters 8 and 9, Enoch writes about the forbidden knowledge imparted to mortals by the 200 fallen angels. Inclusive of this knowledge was instruction on how to create tools of warfare, commit murder, create and apply face paint, wear jewelry, use charms, exercise enchantments, and practice erroneous use of astrology. In chapter 10, Enoch writes about the earthly prison of the 200 fallen angels, where they will remain until the final day of judgment. Apostle Jude notes it at Jude verse 6, and Apostle Peter notes it at 2 Peter 2 verse 4. Enoch describes that their offspring, he described the offspring that they begat of the 200 mortal women they copulated with. He describes them as offspring of fornication. He writes about the time frame called forever, which denotes a period of time required to complete the process of a result. Let me say that again. There is a time frame called forever, which denotes a period of time required to complete the process of a result. The forever time frame ends when the desired result is accomplished. However, there is another time frame called forever and ever, which has no end. Enoch discloses that Noah was chosen of Yahweh to be the seed bearer by which the earth would be replenished with mortals after the great flood. In chapter 11, Enoch discloses the divine rule that where there is no truth, there will be no peace. Thus, wherever a lie is being perpetrated and or embraced, there should be no expectation of divine peace. In chapter 12, Enoch is officially recognized as a scribe of Yahweh. He also notes that the righteous are well known in heaven, which is also noted in the epistle of Matthew. We see that at Matthew 5, verse 19. In chapter 13, Enoch describes the fear that gripped the 200 fallen angels when they learned of their punishment. As did mortals, these 200 became reliant upon the prayers of others after sin infected their nature. Enoch reveals that children of heaven have spirits. Angels have spirits that can be judged. He indicates that children of heaven and earth are able to intimately engage each other. He notes that he notes the geographical location of the earthly prison of the 200 fallen angels. It is in a desert called Abelzel, which is located between pre-flood. This is a place that existed before the great flood, Lebanon and Sennacherib. In chapter 14, Enoch clarifies that Yahweh will never forgive or permit these 200 fallen angels back into the heavenly realm. He reiterates that it was Yahweh who enabled him to see, converse with, and reprimand them. He again reiterates the innate ability given to mortals to properly understand and communicate Yahweh's word of wisdom. King Solomon notes that mortals cannot feign ignorance with their creator and source of being. We see that at Proverbs 24, verse 12. In chapter 15 and 16, Yahweh directly speaks to Enoch with a voice he could not, with a voice he could hear. Enoch explains why sexual intercourse between children of heaven, angels, and earth mortals violate divine order. First, children of heaven already have a holy and eternal nature. Therefore, they have no need to reproduce offspring. However, the children of earth are subject to a nature which, under natural processes, require sexual intercourse to reproduce their kind. Yahweh established this so they could efficiently support themselves on earth. While male and female species are exquisitely whole in their creation, neither can continue to exist on earth without the other. Enoch notes the consequence of the violations committed by the 200 fallen angels. These are everlasting torment for the perpetrators thereof and creation of evil spirits and their workings against the children of earth. In chapter 17 and 21, Enoch describes Sheol, the underworld, as a place where no flesh or blood can dwell. And we're going to be going into that in detail a little bit later. In chapter 18, Enoch writes about realms wherein angelic beings are punished. He reiterates that Yahweh is adamant about his creatures functioning according to their innate nature, which includes cosmic stars. In chapters 19 and 56, Enoch writes about angels, spirits, and demons. He writes of how the spirits of fallen angels continually assume forms in the terrestrial realm to seduce mortals into worshiping evil entities as gods. For this, they will be punished and then brought to naught. We see that at the Enoch 56, verse 1. Enoch also reveals that the 200 mothers of these offsprings became sirens. However, he does not give a description of a siren. In chapter 20, Enoch writes about his encounter with 7 of Yahweh's holy archangels. They are likely the same spoken of by Apostle John in his epistle of Revelation. We see them at Revelation chapters 5 through 8. In chapter 22, Enoch gives a detailed description of Sheol, the underworld. This 4-section plane temporarily houses the spirits of all mortals who officially transition to immortality. One section is likened to a paradise and is reserved for mortals who transition to immortality in righteousness. Jesus Christ spoke of it at Luke chapter 23 and 43, and Apostle John wrote of it at Revelation 2, verse 7. There are 3 other sections reserved for mortal spirits who transition to immortality in unrighteousness. One section occupies unrighteous spirits who transitioned up to and during the Great Flood. One section occupies unrighteous spirits who transitioned not as notorious sinners, but unrighteous nonetheless because they discarded Yahweh's instructions. But then there is one section that occupies unrighteous spirits who transitioned as notorious sinners, who during their mortal lifetime were not justly charged, convicted, or punished for their crimes. These mortal spirits are appointed more torments than other unrighteous spirits during their tenure in Sheol while awaiting their ultimate sentencing on the final day of judgment. Per Apostle John, Sheol or hell will be cast into the lake of fire following the resurrection of righteous spirits. So then, as noted by Enoch and Apostle John, everyone whose name is not recorded in the book of life will be cast into the lake of fire. You see that at Revelation 20, verses 11 through 15. In chapter 23, Enoch writes about a fire that is prepared to punish heavenly luminaries. These are likely the satanic powers referred to by Apostle Paul in his epistle of Ephesians. We see them again at Ephesians chapter 6, verses 11 and 12, and 2 Corinthians 10, verses 4 and 5. In chapter 24, Enoch writes about the tree of life, which Apostle John notes in his epistle of Revelation. We see it at Revelation 2, verse 7, and chapter 22, verse 2 and 14. In chapter 25, Enoch writes about a place in time that likely refers to the millennial reign referred to by Apostle John in his epistle of Revelation. We see it in chapter 20 of Revelation. In chapters 26 through 36, Enoch describes places of beauty and pleasant aromas. He mentions a beautiful valley through which runs a stream of fire containing the spirits of mortals who spoke irreverently of Yahweh. In chapter 27, Enoch writes about the tree of wisdom, from which Adam and Eve ate. Moses gives an account of it in the book of Genesis. We see it at Genesis chapter 2 and chapter 3. This gives credence to the idea that Lucifer was already cast from heaven prior to the days of Enoch. Therefore, all other disgraced angels fell after him. Per Apostle John, a third of angelic hosts fell from their heavenly estates under Lucifer's beguilement. We see it at Revelation chapter 12, verses 4 and 9. In chapter 36, Enoch denotes that Yahweh does want the splendor of his creation recognized and appreciated. This is likely why the book of Psalms makes much to do about praising the Lord for his many wonderful creations. And there you have it. That is part 3 of the book of Enoch 1, an intimate review by yours truly, Lawrence DeMetrius. And again, you can enjoy these reviews at my website, lawrencedemetrius.com. Also take a listen at my new debut album entitled Songs from Heaven, Volume 1. Go and visit today. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. And I'll see you in the next video where we'll be going over the book of Enoch, the book of Enoch 1, part 4. God bless.